Welcome to this week's EED webinar on November 3rd. It is webinar number 17, Enriching Creativity and Enjoyment. So, all about creative flow and how to open up that flow. So here's what we're looking at. We're looking at an overview of the survival mindset versus the thriving mindset. What is it to just keep our neck above water, or what is it to really flow and adapt and create from resilience and autonomy and full creativity? So this is creating because we can, as opposed to creating from fear. So I'm going to delineate that mindset, and that does influence the level of richness that we experience with our creativity, also the level of enjoyment we'll get out of every moment. Simple ways to access a creative source and flow with joy. Now, what I will say is there is another webinar I did last year in 2020. It's webinar number 18, and it's called Flow States of Creativity. So you can also look that one up. That should be on the featured webinars playlist of on the YouTube channel. So it's webinar 18 of 2020. That also gives you more information on accessing a creative source and how to make it flow. But I'm reviewing it again this time. It's just probably going to be under a different context. And then some tips to bring more enjoyment, more agility, more creativity to any situation in relationships with others or with things or with your surroundings. And this is how to bring in that creativity and enjoyment when you're feeling the pressure of a deadline or your own self-stress or your own anxiety, or when you're working with difficult people. So it's how to work around that. Sometimes when we're under pressure, creativity goes out the window, and then we just go into automatic programming. So it's really, how do you stay resilient and lucid and adaptable, even under stress and duress? So just to take pause there, does that bring up any questions for you on what we're looking at, or did you want to add anything that you want me to talk about?
No, just that I resonate a lot with with the topics. That's why I'm here also. I know that I host a controller, and that needs some soothing.
Right. All right. Yeah. To have a little bit more give and receive, as opposed to maintaining tight control or keeping tight control. Yeah. That's when you're in the survival mindset, when you're in that control mode. Yeah. It's natural for all of us. Okay. For those of you listening to the recording now, what is emergent essence dynamics? What does it do? I'll give a very brief rundown. We capture the fundamental process of human transformation on the level of fractal patterns, meaning patterns that are repeating from the smallest level to the largest level. And it functions as a universal model that's going to apply to coaching and leadership, mediation, facilitation, healing, energetic work. As human beings, we're always moving through cycles. And so EED has captured what are those cycles. One of the cycles is the cycle of creativity, right? And how we move through those phases of creativity. Now, for those in the transformational arts, like coaching and leadership or mediation, we're always focused on transformation, and EED is showing you how to work through transformation in a more natural and organic way according to our natural human cycles. And the first step is create a foundation of resilience and autonomy. Otherwise, the transformation will be based on fear, and you will be faced with resistance and rigidity. When you build a foundation of resilience in the person or the team or yourself, you are more receptive, and then you're able to be flexible and adaptable, and you are receptive to change and transformation. Everything is happening in relationship, whether that's to yourself or other people or the world around you. And so EED is looking at what are the actions and behaviors and energies of the people, not what are they saying. So we're looking for truthful communication in order to have a truthful transformation. And it's those dynamics that are going to reveal those personal fractal patterns happening within each individual, which then leads us to the natural change processes and the natural patterns of change, growth, and creativity. And again, everything is happening on a fractal level. So you have resilience, dynamics, and cycles, or resilience, dynamics, and fractals. And that's what EED is all about. And that's how it's capturing our fundamental process of transformation. And so here we're focusing on how to access a source of creativity, what are the patterns of creativity, and what are the relationship dynamics when we move into a mindset of thriving. We're also looking at what are the patterns of survival, but I do have other webinars that are focusing more on what are those patterns of survival. I really want to be focusing on thriving on this one. So the difference between how we thrive and how we survive is going to be based upon how we're expressing our essence. And we're always expressing our essence, but are we connected to that source or disconnected from the source? And what I mean by source, it's our permanent timeless self. I know, Alina, you've heard this before, or if you've watched other webinars, I go through this, but I can't say it enough. When we are connected to our own source, our infinite awareness, our permanence within, a sense of timelessness, the part of us that never goes away, that gives us a foundation of strength and creativity and resilience. And that is the resilient self. It is going to take action, but it has a free flow connection between source and self. Now, you could say source could be the universal mind. Let's think of it that way. Or my higher self, whatever your belief system is, but it's the more permanent, timeless aspect of yourself. The self, you could think of as the ego, the identity. Now, the identity can either be still connected with source, meaning the individual is connected with the all, or the individuality feels separate from everything. And that is the pathetic self. It feels the separation caused from, by the individuality, but it feels that gap, and that gap is aggravating to the pathetic self. It pokes it along, and it keeps the pathetic self asking itself, am I okay? Am I secure? Am I safe? So the pathetic self, because of that disconnection, is driven by fear. Therefore, all its creativity goes towards managing those fears. That's the survival mode, okay? So it's feeling disconnected from that grand source. Therefore, it's trying to seek a grand source to plug into, all right? So the disadvantage of that is that it can be influenced, or it can be very rebellious. It can close everything off, or it's only going to be open to what it appeals to, or what is appealing to it. So that means it can be manipulated. Therefore, it's not a true autonomous creativity. It's a borrowed creativity. Pathetic selves are imitators. All right. Now, the one thing they're very good at is pointing out what is wrong, what needs improvement, what are all the cracks in the wall. That's going to give it a reason to create, but it will not do a good job of creating, because it is not creating from creativity. It's creating from need, fear, and desperation. All right. What we want to do is we can identify what can be created, and then pass that over to the resilient self, because the resilient self is saying always, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm connected to source. So I have the freedom to create. I can create anything I want, and I create because I can. It's a very, very, very different mindset. So the pathetic self and resilient self can work together. The pathetic self can say what needs to be created, then the resilient self does the creating. Two different kinds of actions, all right? If the pathetic self says, I want to build my website, or I want to build a house, it's because, oh my God, I need the business, or I need the shelter, or it's cold, it's raining, I'll die if I don't have this house, or I'll die if I don't have that website, my business will be killed.
I will be happy only when I'll have that website.
That's the sense of false fulfillment, right? And so it will never be satisfying. It will always be stressful. Therefore, there will be no enjoyment in the creation. However, the resilient self says, I can build a house, I can build a website, and If I'm cold and it's raining and I don't have the house yet, I'll be fine. I'm okay. I can deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be great to have the house too, right? So it's not underlined with stress and anxiety. That's the difference. So the resilient self creates from enjoyment, right? That is what it is to thrive. Traditionally, we could say, oh, I'll only thrive once my needs are taken care of. Well, what's your threshold of what do I need? You see, that's the pathetic self deciding your levels of need. Whereas the resilient self says, I actually need nothing, I've got everything. And if I don't have it yet, I'll create it. Already, my needs are satisfied because I know I'm going to be okay, despite all. Does that bring up anything for you, Alina, before we move on, or any questions, comments?
It's okay. It's okay. I I
You get
mean,
difference in the mindsets here, or any questions in the difference, or what do you make as the distinct difference between the two?
um, the pathetic self action, it's a hunting action. It's something where you chase something in or you want to prove something, or
Yeah,
as opposed to the creation, which is, I have everything all here, and because I'm enjoying it, I am doing this. Okay.
yeah, no, yeah, and it's very good what you're saying, that the pathetic self is like a hunter, or
Yeah.
it's trying to prove. Those are the validation and control games. The hunter is trying to control. I
Yeah.
have to catch, I have to chase, and the seeking approval is the validation game. Or I need to prove this to you, to myself, so that I can be valid. Those are two ways of feeling okay. Do I exist, or can I make sure I'm existing? Right? The control is, I got to make sure I'm existing. The validation is, do I exist? Do
I
you
mean,
see I exist? Right?
under the red color, there are all kind of I must, I should, I need, I.
Yeah, absolutely. All that language. A lot of people will call it the negative thinking, or the limited thinking, or the saboteur, or the monkey chatter. It's all the same. It's all coming from that gap, that
Yeah.
disconnect. It's simple emptiness and disconnect. So what's the solution? Connect. Create the connection. So that's where we're going next here. It's how do I feel? How do I feel connected or disconnected? So here's a way to do it. Now, naturally, we are going to be driven by that disconnect. Therefore, we'll always see something, and then the pathetic self says there's something wrong with it, and then I've got to do something about it. So we're always moving from recognition to creation, meaning what I see out there, now I got to do something about it, right? And this is the way we can be in relationship with each other or the world around us, a situation, okay? So we're always, when we're in this cycle of just going from recognition to creation, we're always operating from judgment. So that means we're not actually experiencing the reality around us. We are experiencing our judgments and acting upon our judgments. Now, rightly so, we might say, in order for me to feel safe, I need to judge and act in order to remain safe. But what that does is it doesn't allow new experiences. You are then acting based upon previous programming. Therefore, you are keeping yourself rigid within your bubble, and you are disconnected with the reality around you. So this is your whole sphere of reality, what is within that bubble. Nothing goes in or out. Yeah, go ahead.
I protect my separation through judgment.
That's right. And that's what's going to keep that gap open and alive. And that's going to keep bothering you. It's going to be an endless cycle of, I've got to keep closed to protect myself because I feel that gap and I don't want to open because I don't know what's going to come in. This is all coming from non-resilience. That is what's going to keep your bubble closed. So how do we open it in order to allow in new experiences so that we can grow, so that we actually can have some raw creativity, new ideas, new influences? And that is the key word. What enables us to be influenced, not according to our preset judgments and programming. I mean, if you're okay with me and I'm okay with you and our bubbles kind of match, we'll feel like we're connected and we're friends. But as soon as you oppose me or give me something that doesn't fit,
It's still transactional.
it's still transactional. It's still going to be two bubbles bumping up against each other. We're not truly influencing each other, right? If I'm still coming from pathetic self, I'll plug into you just to take all your information as a source, right? But I'm just sucking it into my bubble because it agrees with my bubble, okay? What's challenging is, what if we are completely different and we can influence each other openly and creatively and resiliently? So how to open the bubble is through simple acceptance. It is not to try and change or modify what we see in front of us. We have to get beyond our perception of something and actually experience it. So we have to project ourselves into their bubble, basically. We have to open ours to get into theirs and let them into ours. So simple acceptance will help us not bypass the judgment, but not act upon the judgment. We're always going to have the judgment, but suspend action. By me moving into simple acceptance, meaning, okay, so you have brown hair. Oh, well, I have an issue with brown-haired people. Brown-haired people are this, that, and the other, and therefore, you know, I can't get along so much with them, or they have to change, or no. Before I act on it, just say, oh, you have brown hair. That's what it is. Okay. By me saying, okay, it is what it is. That is the simple acceptance. I never said I'll have to like it, but it is what it is. That is the important distinction. What is acceptance? It is what it is, and it is that simple. No need to change or modify. Go ahead. Yeah.
What's the difference between acceptance and acknowledgement?
Well, let's see. Acknowledgement could be recognition. I see you there. Okay. But then there's the coaching kind of acknowledgement, which means I see a quality in you, right? Or I acknowledge that you are something, or I acknowledge that you are doing something. That's still in the recognition. See, I could still have judgment around it.
Okay.
I acknowledge that you did a good job, but, okay. I acknowledge you're a very smart person, but,
okay.
Right? Whereas you did a great job.
Okay.
You are a very smart person. You can hear the period at the end of the sentence, meaning
exactly.
There's a full acceptance. Okay.
Totally different energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you did a great job. But there's something that I just won't accept about it. Here's some feedback for you.
Okay.
And yeah, we got to do that. But the point is, I can't pretend I accept. Okay.
Sure.
Because otherwise I'm manipulating you. And that's going to be in our next webinar in 2 weeks on November 17th, which is neutralizing emotional dramas and manipulation. How do you neutralize these manipulative things where people pretend to have the open bubble? No, to have the genuine open bubble, it begins with acceptance, very simple acceptance, because then I can get over myself. I can get over my perceptions of you, and I can actually get to know you by projecting my awareness over there through active fascination. And that is different than curiosity. Curiosity can be behind a barrier, like, oh, I'm curious, but I don't want to touch you. Right? Fascination is I throw myself in, body, mind, spirit. Okay.
Yeah.
And what that's going to do is then I'm willing to be influenced. I'm going to appreciate, I'm going to be fascinated. I'm going to find something in there that I can take back into myself as valuable. Meaning, oh, this brown-haired person, wonder what she's like. She's actually quite kind. Oh, I appreciate that. And then I can go and I can throw myself over there again and find what's the next new thing and the next new thing. I cannot be fascinated, though, until I have a level of acceptance. All I need is a little bit of acceptance to have some fascination. A little bit of fascination will bring me appreciation. All right. And by the way, a little bit of fascination enables more acceptance. And once I start appreciating, I'll have even more fascination. So this accumulates. It's a backwards accumulation, right? Once I'm accepting, I can be fascinated, but now I can accept more. And then I can move into some more fascination and then some appreciation, which breeds more fascination and more acceptance. What that then brings us is into enjoyment. Now, if you notice, through my appreciation, that's softening the other person so they can become receptive as well. They're opening their bubble now. Now they're starting to do the same thing, but when they see that I'm appreciating them, they start becoming fascinated about me. When we're both doing that, we can actually enjoy each other in a true reality, a true open bubble reality, where we start really experiencing each other instead of perceiving each other. This is the difference. It's a mutual experience as opposed to fighting perceptions, competing perceptions. That enables us to then engage with each other in a true relationship, meaning now we're in it with both feet. I've decided I'm not cautious about you. I'm really ready to engage and be in relationship with you so we can participate with each other, meaning act upon each other. And that means we move into a state of co-creation. Now we're truly creating from truth in relationship. Those are the 8 stages of truthful relationship. And this is the way we need to be when we are in a creative flow state, is in this acceptance of the reality, let the reality influence us, then we can send out our creative intentions, see how it's responding, bring that back in. And I'll show you that in the next slide, how we get into that flow. But this is what's going to open up our enjoyment of the moment. And it's really through the acceptance, fascination, and appreciation. So that's very key. We're very good at recognizing what's going on in the moment. And then we're going to act upon it because we're very good at judging. But it takes time and practice to cultivate acceptance, fascination, and appreciation. Then we are enjoying it. So start with the simple things that you can accept. Right? But this is also then how you're able to cultivate enjoyment in difficult situations, by your accepting the situation, not judging it as difficult, not acting upon it as if it is difficult, but just saying, here's the situation. It's not a difficult person, it's a person. And with a little bit of acceptance and fascination, I may start to calm myself down, build my resilience a little bit more, so that then I can start dealing with them creatively instead of reactively, meaning fearing them, or that they're an inconvenience to me, or they're not going along with the way I want things to go. Now I have to be even more creative, right? So now I'm complaining. So you notice that this is the pathetic self saying, oh my God, am I okay? Am I okay? Am I okay? They're being difficult. Am I okay? Am I okay? Whereas the resilient self says, yeah, they're being difficult and I'm okay. And I can still create. And I can actually still be in relationship with them. And maybe I have something I can learn from them. Wouldn't that be great? That will bring me even more creativity. I want to engage with this person. So I'm looking at them not as an enemy, but more as a teacher or an ally, because they're going to wake certain things up in me, which is going to bring more creativity. How are you doing with all that information, Alina? What does this inspire, or what questions come up here? What
Um,
comments?
yeah, I was thinking that sometimes we are for ourselves, the other person.
Oh yeah, this can be your relationship to yourself as well, definitely.
Exactly.
Like
And
looking in a mirror.
absolutely, absolutely. And this cycle, I mean, truthful relationship, it's also something that I can use on myself, and
Yep.
probably also on reaching more resilience in this way.
Yes. Um, a great exercise. Stand in front of the mirror and start recognizing things in yourself.
Mm.
Oh, look at my nose, look at my eyes. Because a lot of people are looking in that mirror saying, oh, I'm so fat, or oh, I'm this, or oh, and they're criticizing and complaining, right? So, oh, look at that nose. Okay, so it is a nose. The nose is what it is. Now let me get fascinated and see what I can appreciate about it. Now, what can I enjoy? Right. And then it's getting beyond the nose, it's getting to yourself, right? And you're starting to see more things in the skin and under the skin. Practice that on yourself. That's a great exercise to become to cultivate a more truthful relationship with yourself, because we do spend a lot of time criticizing ourselves. Listen to how you talk to yourself. So yeah, that's a very good point. It's not just with other people. Now, in reality, we're going to always still act upon judgment sometimes. So just know that when we're acting upon judgment, we're closing the bubble. We're going to start creating conflict and friction. But what we're teaching in the EED courses is both are valid, the closed and the open bubble. The transformation and raw creativity is going to happen in the open bubble state, but then we can apply it back into a closed bubble. And sometimes we do need to close our bubble to recharge, protect ourselves, etc., to close ourselves off from influences. But we can't stay there. We need to open our reality, and then we can close it back in. So this is more where we're going to go share and express, and then we got to come back inside and recharge. And the world is going to come knocking at our door. Sometimes it'll feel like sparks and friction, but we can use that as creative sources, inspiration. But then in order to make the creativity flow, we need to open the bubble. Okay. So, and that's a whole art in itself, on how to manage relationships, conflicts, etc. And we have other webinars and courses on how do you toggle between the open and closed bubbles. But for the sake of creativity, what we want to do is look at how do you open the raw channel of creativity. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, if we go a bit on that, there is this fascination, appreciation, enjoyment, and engagement. I Where empathy enters here.
Ah, that's a good question. Empathy will begin as soon as you bypass the judgment. So it begins with the acceptance.
With the so it's like a container for enabling acceptance, fascination, appreciation, and so on.
Yeah, but if you start putting pressure on yourself, okay, now I'm accepting the person, now I have to have more empathy for them, you've just started judging yourself. And you've just started acting upon the judgment, saying, I don't know if I have enough empathy. I don't know if I have enough acceptance. So don't put pressure on yourself to build empathy. Empathy naturally will build. And I believe you'll start feeling the true empathy in the enjoyment phase.
Yeah.
Because then enjoyment is a state of free-flowing connection. There is no more judgment anymore. When you're in enjoyment, there's nothing to doubt anymore, because now you're in a pleasurable, receptive state. Now you can engage and be active in that receptive, pleasurable state. Okay, so where's the full empathy? It begins with enjoyment. How do you get there? With a little bit of acceptance. So the empathy is going to build. In these stages of acceptance, fascination, appreciation, you've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the judgments may come in and close the bubble again.
Mm-hmm.
Once you hit enjoyment, it's hard to close the bubble because the enjoyment takes over and you're in this open, receptive, active, resilient, pleasurable state.
Yeah, with enjoyment practically starts the flow.
That's right. That starts there is a free flow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, word of caution, when you're working through these states, know that it might feel wobbly here. It might collapse. So if it does, it's like, I'm not that fascinated. Well, then go a step back. What's here? And just work with the recognition and the acceptance. Don't push yourself into the fascination or the appreciation. It will come to you naturally. And there's a back and forth. Acceptance is internal. Fascination is external. I'm sending energy out. Appreciation, I'm bringing it back into myself. Enjoyment is I'm sending it out again. And then it's more like a two-way street. All right. It's another way to think about it.
Yeah.
Does that help? That's a long answer to your question, but does that help with the question of empathy?
I can relate with and recognize what you just explained.
Okay. So this is based upon, it is give and receive, which is the flow state of creativity, which you're gonna see in a second here. Now, the other thing though is, in order for this to work, we need to be congruent between what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what we're doing and saying. So what's physical, emotional, and mental must line up in order to access the essence of our higher creativity and the source of our creativity, right? The essence, you could think of the spirit within, and then the source is what is that whole universe the spirit is connected to. That is another way to think about it, all right?
Universal plug.
Yep. This is the universal sea of infinite potential, right? And that comes into our essence or our higher mind, and then into our daily thoughts and emotions and physicality. And that is moment by moment. So we might think, oh, I got to think creatively. Well, there's no new creative thoughts. On the mental level, we're just assembling things and categorizing things. We're taking what's already known and putting it into new combinations. So yes, it's creative with new combinations, but raw creativity will come from essence and source, okay? Higher mind or higher soul, spirit, whatever, and then the source, the whole infinite source. You can even call this collective unconscious if you want, the collective consciousness. So now the other thing is the body will have its own wisdom. Emotions contain wisdom, right? So we can even draw in some raw creative signals through the body or through the emotions. Emotion might be more like stored memory or things that we weren't consciously aware of, same with the body. Or the body can draw in, let's say through a new source, through the earth, right? And that's bringing in sort of maybe like ancient signals, ancient wisdom, history, karmic memory, Akashic records, if you're into that. I mean, so but what I really want to stress is it's not about thinking creatively. It is about being in a congruent state so that we can access source. We can draw creative energy up through the body. We can draw energies in or receive, and then we can receive from all around us, our surroundings, stimulus. Mm-hmm. So we can see a building, a tree, a bird fly by, and that we could take in, it's going to spark something in, okay, from within, all right? So this is the key word, is to be welcoming of all new information. Again, be in an open bubble with everything, your surroundings and yourself within and source. Allow things to bubble up. This is how you're going to open the channel. Because if you start judging it and acting upon it too soon, like you get into you're a writer and it's like, a line of poetry comes to me, and then I think about it and I think, nah, I don't know if that's good enough. You start editing it. No. Whatever came through, just write it out and move on. And what's the next thing? And the next thing and the next thing. All right. I see you nodding. Just anything to say or comment on here?
Uh, it makes sense. Yeah. That's all. I just connected with what you said.
So if I'm painting, if I'm dancing, if I'm playing the piano, if I'm writing, I need to first line up my thoughts, my emotions, and my physicality. So I can't sit down at the piano ready to practice and perform with poor body posture, not engaged with my instrument. I can't be thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow, and I can't be feeling miserable about the conversation I just had.
Absolutely.
Right? See, I'm not focused on the music.
Yeah.
I've got to align my body so that I'm in relationship with my instrument. Mm-hmm. I've got to now focus in on what's my thought and focus of the piece I'm playing, or the sounds that I'm responding to as I improvise music, or the sounds I'm hearing from my fellow musicians that I'm responding to. I need to allow it to affect me, to appreciate, right? And enjoy, so that I can then send something back out, so I can engage and participate with the instrument, right? So I'm not only hearing the sounds coming at me that I'm creating, I'm feeling the keys, I'm feeling the vibrations, I'm in a congruent flow with my instrument. Now my essence can start taking over. Mm-hmm. I let the thoughts go. I don't have to think about the piece. I'm in a natural flow and feeling of the piece. I'm in a natural congruent physical relationship with my instrument. Now my essence can just start to come through, and that's going to be the inspiration.
Which means that the blue bubble, it's useful to know how to actually drop the blue bubble.
Yeah, to open it to your instrument, open it to your dance partner, to the paintbrush and the canvas, right? So that's what you're in the open bubble with. Mm-hmm. You can practice painting with the open bubble by, I'll show you in a second here how you can start generating a creative flow. But then when you get in relationship with it, you're choosing a color and you make a brush stroke or two. And then you recognize, accept, fascinate, and enjoy. And then comes the next brush stroke and the next brush stroke. And you're looking at it as that co-creation of the canvas, and the brush strokes are affecting me just as much as I am affecting it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the painting is painting you just as much as you are painting the painting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, the painter might say, oh, what did I do? And they start judging. I got to fix that. No, actually come through appreciation. Even if you accidentally dump the whole can of paint on the painting, like a Jackson Pollock. Okay, now what can I do with that? It's going to show me something. It's going to guide me somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm following the raw creativity in action and response. This is, by the way, what EED is all about. You're acting upon, and it's acting upon you. So you're in action, response, send, receive, give, receive. That's the creative flow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's moment to moment to moment. It's like we're flashing in and out in a new moment of creativity, always in line with the new thought, the new feeling, the new action, the new physical gesture, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just say I want to get the creativity started, just a spark of creativity. It's going to be an energy. And that energy is going to be located somewhere in the body, and there's going to be a sensation to it. So even something to do is just get in a quiet space in your room. If you want, close your eyes, breathe a bit, connect with your body, but it's just to become present to the body and the breath. Don't get too zenned out, but it's just to get in a more still space so you can just notice thoughts or feelings or physical sensations. And then what you can do is you can find a body center. So scan your energies. Let your energy run up and down your body and see Which part of your body wants to be most engaged with? Maybe it's your heart, your stomach, your kneecaps, your feet. Maybe it's your ears, who knows? And you could just experiment. Let me settle into a body center and then start to discover what's the energy in there. And then imagine you're dropping your eyes, your ears, your nose, your whole brain into that center. So let's say it's in my chest here. And then I can kind of open my eyes and then imagine that I'm breathing in the room through that center, in and out. I'm hearing the room, seeing the room from this central place, and there will be a sensation there. Then I can start to center myself in that place and see what it has to offer. What kind of energy or quality is that, right? And then just simply enjoy that. And then see how that circulates, how it gives out, gives in, what I receive or take in or let go through, so we can just circulate, and you can start getting it flowing through your whole body, right? So what's important is that energy now, it's not my brain doing the thinking. See, it's a way to get myself out of the thinking mode and into a creative mode. Now, thoughts and feelings and physical sensations are actually bubbling up out of the experience. And it doesn't matter what's first, if it's a thought, emotion, or something physical. So coming from a body center and enjoying the sensation and seeing what the energy has to offer is going to give a creative impulse. Okay. How to get this, how to work with this is what we call the vertical loop. This is what's going to build resilience. It's also going to open creativity. So we can circulate a resilient energy or a resilient quality throughout us. We can circulate a creative energy throughout us as well. Core vitality and resilient well-being goes in depth on how to create this. And then our whole module 1 course, actually every course, it deals with building these vertical loops within ourselves. That's a basic foundation of resilience. Now, how do we use that as a flow state is, I thought I changed that slide. Ooh, maybe it wasn't the right slide I changed. Okay. There's going to be an impulse. So this is the wrong slide, actually. So there should be impulse, and then connection, well-being, enjoyment, and then action. Okay. This is actually, I borrowed this from an older webinar, but I made improvements on it. So creativity is going to come from that first impulse. So I'll connect with the impulse. I can circulate it through my system and feel the well-being of it and enjoy that. Then I can give that out
okay.
to the person or to the instrument or to the painting. Okay. Then what's going to happen is, it's going to give back. So, here we go. See, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's corrected now.
Yeah, now it's corrected itself. I forgot to change it on a previous slide. So you've got that impulse, connect to it, let it affect your well-being, find the enjoyment in it, then take action and give that. Now you're going to be receiving it on the other end. There's a generosity in being receptive, meaning there's an acceptance, okay? And then there's an intention. So there's an intention of what I'm sending, and then when I receive it back, I'm going to be generous in what I'm receiving and see how that affects what my original intention was. I'm going to take it in, so it develops my presence. It's going to refocus me, right? And then I can be really receptive to what's coming at me, marry that back to my intention, and then I can send that intention out generously again. So in a way, these are all collapsed together in the give and receive. There's a generosity in the way I'm receiving. There's a generosity in the way I'm sending or giving. That should actually probably say send and receive. But how do I develop this creative presence? It's through the connection, the well-being, and the enjoyment. It's not just the action of giving and seeing the impact and effect over there, but it's also, how am I being impacted back? All right. Even if what I'm sending out falls flat or it's refused or rejected, it's still going to send something, it's going to boomerang back to me. So how do I receive that as information? And then I can accept and become fascinated and appreciate what's happening. And then marry that again to my impulse and marry that again to my intention. And eventually I'm going to be creating an open bubble of a creative flow. Is this making sense what I'm saying, or is it all gobbledygook?
It makes sense. It makes sense. I know it will take some time again to redo this in my own mind,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes sense a lot. Um,
Imagine you're on both sides.
exactly. I was actually reading it as being on both sides,
Yeah.
as opposed to being two persons.
Yeah.
And because of that, I actually said, okay, I can recognize it.
Because look, when you're in with your when you have creativity, yeah, you're going to develop an intention and a presence and a focus that you can then give as well, right?
Mhm.
But when you're in the receiving end, receive with generosity, let that affect your intention, let it affect your presence, let it affect your focus so that you can receive it. Then what's the new impulse that comes from that, connect to it, bring it to your well-being and enjoyment, then take action from the new intention and presence and focus, right?
Mhm.
So the two are kind of collapsed together, that the give and the receive is simultaneous. So in order, you got to separate it out to practice it, right? There's a creative sending and giving, but then there's the creative receiving
Mhm.
so that you can give again. So yeah, in a way, there's a paradox. You're in two places at once. Because a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to influence. And they're going to respond and they're going to take it or leave it, what I'm giving them, right? It's like if I'm going to play the piano is going to respond to me because I'm the master of the piano, or the canvas is going to respond to me. I'm the painter, I'm the artist. And it's like a one-way street, right? And then if the piano or the canvas or the other person agrees with me, then great. I feel like a happy creator, right? But that's a closed bubble approach. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, I haven't
I'm
thought.
saying that's the one-sided creator.
Yeah.
And it's kind of how we tend to look at things. Or I'm just going to receive, and let everything create me. And I'm not going to take a stand or have an idea or have a conviction. I'll just be influenced and influenced and influenced. But that's like being a cork on the water, right? Just float, float, float wherever the universe tells me. You've got to be both. You've got to be open and receptive, generous with focus and intention, but then receptive, able to be influenced, and marry that with your convictions. So this is how you have willpower,
Mhm.
but also receptivity and openness and generosity. So this is what I'm saying is the creative flow state is a state of co-creation, participation, where you are engaged with everything in front of you, with yourself, everything in front of you, in a flow state of enjoyment, and you're
Mhm.
able to influence and be influenced.
Mhm.
And it's still able to maintain intention. Now, this is what our module 3 and 4 is all about, is how do you do that? And you need, but so you just need to open the flow state first and then start experimenting with how can I influence and be influenced at the same time while still maintaining an intention, keeping my eye on the prize, but not being so rigid and controlling about it, right? There's a sweet spot in there. So great to practice with automatic writing or playing an instrument or dancing and just improvising, or improvising with a fellow friend or an actor and just doing some back and forth dialogue. Just improvise the dialogue. But it's this give and receive of the creative flow. Comments? I know I said a lot. Okay. So even the art of transformation is going to, sorry, my phone's ringing and I can't reach it, but it's going to stop. So we end up in this essence to essence flow state when we're connected with source. That's what the open bubble format is going to be able to get us into. We'll drop even deeper into creative flow. But it's possible to pull that level of source into a fluid state of dream, back into our games of opposition, and that then can influence our story. So what we're really doing is we're moving through all these 4 levels. I've talked about these 4 levels before: story, game, dream, source. That's why I'm going very fast on this. But creativity, we're really coming from, where am I at the most mundane level? Drop into my relationship to that, open my relationship to it, drop into the creative source, bring that back into relationship, let it firm up into a concrete action or idea. Right? So we're coming from a very crystallized moment, dropping down into the most fluid and infinite potentialness of something, and then recrystallizing. And that is the art of transformation. That is the art of creation. Moving from story, game, dream into source, and then taking something from source, building it into dream, building that into game, building that back into story. And that's our give and receive. That's another way to think of give and receive. I should have one of those figure 8s here. Mm-hmm. So that's what we move through. If we are only creating from story and game, if that's the closed bubble, that's fear and reactivity. To truly thrive is to drop into this more lucid dream state, source state, and then bring that into our reality. So acceptance and fascination enable us to drop. And it's those 8 stages of truthful relationship that allow us to drop into dream and source. So creation is an act. It is active. It's done in relationship. So we must be responsive and receptive. And this does come from enjoyment. So do it with joy. Find the joy in it. Find the joy in the moment. How do we do that? We accept the moment. So we can practice flow with a simple creative activity that brings us vitality, well-being, pleasure. So maybe it's drinking a cup of coffee, taking a walk, painting, writing, doing something. Don't put yourself to task. Don't make it work. Like, I got to get this done. I have to accomplish. Make it a pleasurable activity. Because then you get into the acceptance of the moment much faster. Remember that raw creative material will rise up from the body impulses. You can draw it in from accessing that source, dropping into that source state, or let it be sparked or inspired from your surroundings. Take it in, welcome it, and see how it influences you. But be in that congruency of mind, emotion, and body, mental, emotional, physical, so that you're an open channel to from the source within and the source without, right? From outside inside. Everything is in a cycle of give and receive. That's like breathing, polarity, give, receive, send, receive. And that enables us to thrive in a pleasurable environment, as opposed to battling or competing with things around us and trying to send and shove it down somebody's throat and then rejecting what they give back to you. And because that's called manipulation, right? Absolutely. And there are other webinars, especially the first 3 webinars of 2021, webinars 1, 2, and 3, are all about the creative cycle and seasons. So if you want to know more about that, go look at webinars 1, 2, and 3 from 2021. So everything is give and receive. So be receptive to things around you, to everything. Be receptive when you are in relationship to things. What that means, it's just be in a basic mode of acceptance. Okay, that's what it is. That's all it is. It's not even about, do I like it or not like it? It's just, it is what it is. Then to practice fascination, which leads to appreciation, which leads to enjoyment. So practice finding simple joy in every moment, find that simple acceptance and just flow with it. So start looking at joy and acceptance as being reciprocal to each other, and the two together generate that creativity. It generates that flow. So all of it is working together. Acceptance, joy, creativity, flow, all of that is what's going to enrich your ability to thrive. What are you taking away? Or as an inspiration, or new learning or discovery, or what it's reinforced?
It reinforced the door of acceptance. Practically there you or I would, put the basis of everything for for whatever. And probably I resonate most because there is the controller, trying to find something.
Now, it's not a bad thing to control, but it's where's the control coming from? If it's coming from the gap, then just ask yourself, all right, am I okay here? Am I okay a little bit? Then focus on the little bit of okayness to calm down the controller so it can open its bubble with a little bit of fascination, right? That's it. That's all you need. That's how you can temper the controller, right? Yeah.
But in reality, what I am saying to myself is, it's okay, just take it easy. Whenever it happens that I feel okay, it's difficult for me to enter into that flow, which I recognize, I know how it is.
Yeah, and then use some discernment, like, okay, so my house is burning down. Am I okay? Well, probably not. Maybe I do have to take control of that, right? But so to ask, if this is disaster, how real is the disaster for me? Or am I okay to sit with it and learn from what's going on instead of trying to put out the fire too quickly? That's how you can temper your controller, right?
Yeah. Actually, I had in mind some situation which were more way easier than a house in fire.
Yeah. No, and I just say that because somebody's going to be saying, well, wait a minute, you can't be so passive or everything is okay. No, I'm not saying that, because there's a balance between, we've got to take control, but when is it over control, right? And when can we afford to be more receptive? Again, it's a give and receive. And this is what we teach in all of the EED courses. And that's the paradox, is how do I find that sweet spot? Because again, it's the pathetic and the resilient work together. We're not eliminating or favoring one over the other. I just really want to stress that. And just bouncing off of what you're saying, not to you, but to anyone listening out there that might be thinking, well, wait a minute, right? So it's all about counterbalancing. So I wanted to underline that. Was there anything else that you wanted to comment on or say?
There are many things. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I know you've taken the modules before. Whoa. That might be, that was from a different one. Our next webinar is going to be on November 17th. That's neutralizing emotional dramas. So that's going to deal with the pathetic self and how is it creating stories and games, and how do we not get so sucked into it to really drop into what's the more fluid, real truth of the moment that we can create from. Like, let's just clean up the moment instead of being so reactive to all of these smoke screens and distractions. So this is, how do you get clean in the moment? So how do you cut through drama to get into simple truth is basically what that's going to be about. And then how do you apply all this? How do you use a vertical loop? How do you, work with all the variations? How do I balance, being resilient, but yet able to control or to create? And how do we balance resilient and pathetic self? that's all in the training modules. The webinars, I can give you the concepts and the theories, but you get the supervision, the exercises, and the practice, and the full-blown techniques in all of these modules, right? So our next training comes up in November 19th to 22nd. I'm trying a 4-day format now. You've taken the module, so you could assist if you want, Alina. We got another set of module 1 coming up December 3rd to 6th. So it's a 4-day format. I might experiment with other formats coming in the new year. We normally used to do 3 days, but some people said that's so long, to be online on Zoom. Everything is through Zoom. Mm-hmm. So I've opened the registration on our Eventbrite site. You can also get there through our website. So it's European time zone from 3 to 5, or 3 to 8 for 4 days, and then we'll have a follow-up session later, few days or next week later, from 5 to 8. So yes, it's around dinner time, but I'm doing it this way so that we can also get people from North America, because 3 o'clock European time would be 9 a.m. Toronto time, for example, or New York time.
Reasonable.
Yeah. Except it's 4 days now. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. However, less time of the day to take out, less time to take off work. So I don't know how it works for everybody. I'm trying it and see if we get response. Mm-hmm. So if you want more information, just contact me, Troy at essence-dynamics.com or info@essence-dynamics.com. And the website is essence-dynamics.com. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, just go look at some other webinars, or go look at our website to find to register for the courses, or look at the registration site, or just contact me directly with your questions. So any final words, Alina? And yeah, let me know if you want to assist. We are looking for people to assist. You can assist all EED courses once you've taken them once, and then you can assist for the rest of your life, and it's never a penny charged. Yeah.
Thank you. More than sure next year I will come. I have something now at the end of the year and January, but a bit later I truly think to come.
Yep, great. And then I've just put out the November and December dates, and then I'm already finalizing the spring dates, so those will come out soon. Okay. But I don't anticipate doing module 1 again until maybe March or April. Okay, that's usually when we start again, is March or April. Yeah. But we'll see what I can come up with for January, February, March. I mean, I might put something special in there. I don't know, but let's see. So it's always spring, fall. We go on those.
Yeah. I know.
Great. So thank you so much, Alina, for coming in with your comments and questions. That helps guide me. I like to be in creative response to everyone who participates live on the webinars. So for those of you listening to recording, come and join us live. And in the meantime, practice your creativity, be resilient, be radiant, be creative, and most of all, enjoy the moment. And we'll see you next time.